listening to Adrenaline Radio, 1680 AM on your dial. I'm Fred Blanchard, host of Adrenaline Motorsports, and Steve Montrelli's back with us again. And the experience you had kind of brought to life pretty much when you decided to make the jump. And how did you make the jump to Arias?
Well, what happened is I decided to open a shop up. So I opened a shop up in the same complex. There's 4,000 or 5,000 foot buildings in this complex. Nick had 2 of them, and then there was a little machine shop in the middle, and I got one on the end. And Dale Smart came in, the owner of the car, came in one day and asked me if I would be willing to do the research and development for Nick Arias, because he was going to put one in his car. And that was just before that you guys came to the shop. And
well, the question was, when did the boats get involved? Were you before?
Oh, no, this is way later yet.
I wanted to find out about the boats and how you had to...
Okay, well, first was Dale's car. Okay. That was the first ones we ran.
Okay.
As far as alcohol, and if you remember right, we used to go out on Wednesday nights to Orange County, and every Wednesday night
we'd be picking up push rods, right?
Yeah, we'd start the car up at the shop. Everything was fine. We'd go out there, and Gary would make a burnout, and the motor would quit, and we'd take the valve covers off, and there would be 8 push rods laying in the valve covers. Mm-hmm. And this is a lot of people don't understand, but this is a 3 push rod engine. To make it a hemispherical, we had to get by certain things, so we made an idler rocker, which I don't want to get too technical into this thing. But anyways, we had a problem. There was something binding up that we couldn't find. It happened when the car starts running.
But you got to say that it was a 3 push rod motor. Basically, is what it boiled down to.
3 push rod motor, one of a kind. And so, anyways, we kept fighting that. So one day, in the engine room, I kept looking and looking and looking. And what I did is I took all the rocker arms and I blew them in the idler rocker arm. So the next time we went and run the car, we could see what was going on. And I guess about the 3rd time out, we fixed the problem. What happened is the idler needed a little more clearance. When it went up to the top
RPM
range, it would kind of float, and it would hit this place and knock the push rods out. So we fixed that. We went out there and started running the car, and it started running really good. I talked to Nick, and I said, why don't we do something with a boat? And I says, I can go down the river and I could take a look. There's a lot of guys down there, and they got all these Chevrolets in them, I was told, down at the river. And he said, yeah, okay. So I went down there, and I walked around, and there's like 15 or 20 boats sitting, all flat bottoms, all Chevrolets, all polished 544-inch motors, 575-inch.
So who decided this marketing program that you decided to go to the river and do all this kind of thing?
Well, in a way, it was me.
Oh, well, see?
I mean, I was trying to find out where we could make this work. I had figured out that I was going to go down there and see if I could promote a boat to put one of the motors in. So what I did is I went down there and I said, I'm looking for a guy, for one person to come to the shop, and the first guy that comes to the shop, this is my deal. We have some engines that we're putting together. They're all used parts, but they're in perfect condition. We're going to put the motor together. You supply the blower and injector, and we'll put the motor in the boat. And this is the deal. And I had it in writing on paper. So if the guy was interested, it was a half price for the motor, and there was a price for the motor, and it said if it did this, this, and this on the piece of paper, they owned the motor.
Are you referring to, in reference to what they had been running as speeds and elapsed times and things like that, and what you could do for them if they improved upon that? Is that what the agreement was?
Exactly. If it didn't run better, the first one when I went to the river, if it didn't run better or they weren't happy with it, we just take it out and say, hey, it was fun. But I was looking for somebody that, when they finally came to the shop, I said, we will make this boat will go out and set records, it will do everything, blah, 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 on this piece of paper. And it was like $12,500 for this engine that this guy's going to get.
Well, that's a cheap deal. Oh, yeah. I can tell you that right now.
Exactly. You can't buy.
I paid a little more than that here in the last few months. I can assure you that.
Yeah, now they're $30,000 to $50,000. But anyways, we got all the guys down at the river. I met some of the guys down there that eventually later on bought some engines. But one guy that wasn't down there, which had an actual professional drag boat, flat bottom with a Chevrolet in it, worked for and Mr. McFarland, Bill McFarland, calls me up and he says, I hear that you have an engine you want to put in somebody's drag boat to go racing. I said, yeah, I do. It's a hemispherical Chevrolet, Nick Arias, 3 pushrod motor, blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, we're interested. So they bring the boat over, and the kid comes in, and he is the record holder in the class at the professional boat racing. So he comes in, and he says, yeah, I guess we're going to put a motor in the boat. So he drops the boat off and leaves, and we get the motor all done and put the motor in the boat. And when it's all ready to start up, we called up, and they came over and pushed the boat outside, started the motor up, and torqued the heads and set the timing, did everything for the motor, and got it all ready and finished to go to the racetrack. We took this thing on it's either 5 or 6 boat races back in North Carolina, Detroit, and Texas, and we did a 5-week span. And my deal was, if it didn't do what I told them, we'd take it out when we got back. No, everybody's friends. Well, we actually took 3 or 4 boats at the time, and they were different classes, and I had the same agreement with all of them, and we did this 5-week tour. When we came back, everybody owned the motors. So that's how it got started. And years after that, I mean, we were building them for the boats, and unblown boats, and blown gas flat bottom, blown alcohol flat bottom, blown fuel. We had a couple blown fuel guys that ran them, and it got to be pretty big, but we couldn't seem to do too much with the cars. You guys is with the dragster. We sold a few dragster motors, but the Double B funny car, we just could not get a handle on. The engine made too much power, and there was no way to figure. We couldn't figure out how to tame it down enough.
Well, even to deliver it, I think it was one of these situations, because I know that I recall some of what was done, and I think at the time you had a lot of famous names who are now manufacturers, but I think a fellow by the name of Brad Anderson at that time had a funny car. It was made to put an engine in that car, but I don't know the outcome of that. But the real thing I was hitting on, the effort you made to go down the line, and you kind of went right past it, but my deal was, I can just imagine you guys telling these guys about the fact that you wanted to put an engine in their boat, and then also telling them there were a bunch of used parts, and that's the part I didn't pick up on until now.
Yeah, well, the funny part about that was when we did do this, and we ran the last race in Waco, Texas, and then we were going to come home, the kid that I was running with in the boat, one of the other guys from the river ran him in the final round at 3 of the races, and our guy beat him at all 3 races. Well, the last run at Texas, this other fellow which was named Rick Keys, which is...
Well, that name sounds very familiar.
He ran the last boat that I ran when I was doing the boats. He knew the deal that was down at the river, so when he gets back into town about Wednesday of that week, all of a sudden here comes this Rick Keys and his dad in, and I knew what they were coming for. He just realized that there's no way he's going to beat that Arias. I got to have one.